Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call a police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
the struggle with ASU strike.
The Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.
All right, it's a beautiful morning, and yes, it is a Friday morning, TGIF on Global Television, and this is the program Global Morning. It's great to have you here on the program. And on the program today, I will not be doing this alone. I have my co-host with me, Anthony Momodu. How are you doing today?
Good morning, doing fine. Nice to know you're out there. And today, the 22nd day of November 2024. We intend to make a day truly amazing. It's the weekend, and it's time for us to get you well informed so that you can have a very amazing weekend.
Exactly. And of course, we have some interesting discussions of the day that we'll be delving into. Of course, we're looking at state policing, which has become slightly like an issue for some states in the country of Nigeria. But of course, we're looking into it, and we have some analysts who will be delving into that particular discuss of the day. What's your take when it comes to state policing as a whole, Anthony?
Already, some states, the 36, the National Economic Council has given deadline to 3 states that have not submitted their own proposals regards their stand on that issue. So what it means, we've got from the 36 states, 33 states have submitted theirs. So we've got Kebbi that hasn't submitted, the FCT also one of them. So hopefully when these 3 states also do submit theirs, then we will have a holistic decision by the federal government. And it's very key that state police is imperative if you look at the fact that the whole country is suffering from insecurity, and the best way to tackle this insecurity, we have to start from the grassroots, from the community level. So that makes state policing very, very imperative. That's talking about community policing by extension. So I think it's something we cannot but do at this time when the country is facing serious insecurity challenges.
All right, at this point, we're going to quickly go on a very quick break, and Global Morning continues shortly. Stay tuned.
All right, welcome back from the break. Just yesterday, we celebrated the World Television Day. Television continues to be the single largest source of video consumption, and those screen sizes have changed, and people create, post, stream, and consume content on different platforms. The number of households with television sets around the world continues to rise. The interaction between the emerging and traditional forms of broadcast creates a very great opportunity to raise awareness about important issues facing our communities and our planet. And so we're still in the mood of celebrating the issue of the World Television Day, which occurs every 21st of November of each year, but today happens to be 22nd, but we're still in the mood. And away from that, just to look at issues making the rounds in Nigeria, just to let you know that the Court of Appeal, sitting in Abuja, has upheld the recent Rivers State local government elections. The elections was conducted by the administration of Governor Sim Fubara. According to Sahara reporters, this was contained in a judgment delivered by the court on Thursday, thereby overturning an earlier judgment by the Federal High Court, which ruled against the council elections. Reports states that the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission had declared the Action People's Party, the APP, winner in 22 out of the 23 local government areas in the state. However, dissatisfied with the result, the All Progressive Congress, APC, approached the Federal High Court to nullify the process for alleged breach of Electoral Act, which it succeeded at the lower court. However, the appeal court ruled that the lower court lacked the jurisdiction to hear the case presented by the APC. The court also held that the Electoral Act is not applicable to local government elections. So that's what's playing out in Rivers State. I'll give you more updates as some issues pending. A former deputy national chairman of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Bode George, has said that Nigerians are waiting to show President Bola Ahmed Tinubu the exit door in the upcoming 2027 presidential election amid economic hardship in the country. All right, and the next talking point that we'll be discussing after this is the fact that the Vice President, Kashim Shettima, has declared Nigerian youth the only vehicle for developing the country, insisting no nation can prosper without investing in its youths. The Vice President asserted that most of the goals the government hopes to achieve locally and globally will be unattainable without the active innovation and involvement and energy of youth utilized. So that's from the Vice President. And the last talking point, which will be of a quick discuss here, is the fact that the Defense Headquarters and the Coalition of Civil Society Organizations, CSOs, led by Tinubu's support group and the Renewed Hope Ambassadors of Nigeria and the Center for Action Against Corruption, on Thursday faulted claims made by ex-Niger Delta militant leader in the person of government, Ekpemu Polo, also known as Tom Polo, concerning the oil theft in Nigeria. Tom Polo, the chairman of the Tadita Security Services, Nigeria Limited, which is executing the pipeline protection contract awarded by the Nigerian government, had, while receiving the national leadership of the Nigerian Bar Association, accused the military, particularly the Nigerian Navy, of involvement in oil theft. All right, so these are some of the interesting talking points we'll be looking at this morning before we get into looking at what the papers are saying. For you, which of these talking points is of interest to you?
For me, I would talk about the Kashim Shettima, where he says the we should invest more in the youth, which I feel it's true. We should invest more in the youth. We should give the youths a chance in order for there to be development in our society and the country as a whole. It's very important that he recognizes that the youths have impact in the society. Youths are the ones that are the forerunner. They're the ones that make things happen. They're the ones that can come out. The youths play a vital role in the system as when you look at it, and for the vice president to come out and acknowledge that the youth has power, because some youth hold true to power, which is very important that we recognize that. And that is why in our system, in this particular system which we find ourselves, our President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in some of the cabinets you can see the ages of some of his appointees that are holding public offices. Some are, you could hear of the ages not as old as 60 or 70, some. And that is why it's very important that we give youths a chance. We give people of, well, I think we're actually heading to that point where someone at the age of 38 or 40 something will hold an appointment, because you know that he has a lot of things to offer and bring to the table. It has to be someone who has it already, who can actually hold it and can actually speak truth to power, recognizing the fact that he is the mouthpiece of wherever constituency which he or she represents. So it's very important, and it's acknowledgeable that he can actually come out and say that the youth, that's one of the catchy stories for me.
All right, for me, looking at what the defense headquarters and the CSO are saying, trying to defend the Nigerian Navy and trying to attack Tom Polo, I think it's of great concern. I think there should be an investigation by the anti-graft agencies and the relevant authorities, rather than just dispel what Tom Polo has said, where he's accusing the Nigerian Navy of conniving with some elements to siphon the natural resources of the country. There should be a proper investigation to be sure that Tom Polo is not spilling the beans, and so that if it's true that the Nigerian Navy is involved in any shady dealings, then the people involved should be brought to book. Also, the issue of Bode George saying Nigerians are waiting eagerly for 2027 to vote out President Bola Tinubu is of interest to me. The fact that the economic situation of the country has actually made a lot of Nigerians have a rethink as regards 2027, but time will definitely tell. All right, before we look into the papers, we have one more interesting talking point, which has to do with the Arewa. The Arewa Consultative Forum has suspended its national chairman, Mamman Mike Osuman. It describes as an authorized statement concerning the 2027 presidency. Osuma was quoted as saying during the ACF National Executive Council meeting on Wednesday that the North would support a northern candidate for the presidency in the 2027 general elections. Reacting in a statement, the forum, through its chairman board of trustees, Bashir Dahatu, and the Secretary General Murtala Aliyu, said Osuman made the statement without consulting or discussing with all the leaders and members of the ACF. So it tells you the ACF is backtracking on the comment made by Osuman. So it means the fact that in 2027 the North wouldn't be supporting a northern candidate is what the ACF is saying. Do you quite agree with the ACF, judging with the fact that they've been in disagreement with the current government as regards its policies?
Well, for me, it actually depends. Well, it depends. I'll just sit on the fence till we get proper insight on that, particularly the ACF. Well, let's just see how well the toll takes before I'll take a stand. Right now, just stay on the fence and say, well, for all be told, I'm sure everything will be in the right direction and for the benefit of individuals. It doesn't matter. Like for me, I've always said from the beginning, it doesn't matter whether it's the north, south, east, even northern part, eastern part. As long as someone that holds truth to power, number one, someone who can actually stand his ground and move the country forward for me. So it doesn't matter what happens, but at the same run, hopefully the needful will be done.
All right, the ACF therefore has announced the suspension of Osuman as chairman with immediate effect, and also constituted a committee to investigate the infractions. All right, those are some of the top talking points we shared with you this morning. We'll be going for a very quick break. Hopefully, when we return from the break, we'll be looking at what the papers are saying this morning so that we can get you truly informed and ready for the day ahead. Stay with us.
You're welcome back from that very quick break. And of course, right now, as we speak, is the newspaper segment, and we'll be delving into the various newspapers holding vital issues, and of course, for information that you need to get acquainted with. And we'll be starting with the Leadership Friday. And above the caption of the Leadership Friday, here it says, Abdul Razak celebrates as Kwara pupils win presidential debate for third time. And on the Leadership Friday, it says, in 48 hours, NASA approves Tinubu 1.77 trillion naira loan request. And you can find that on page 8 on the Leadership Friday. And below that caption, it says, that's the star story there on the Leadership Friday. It says, Tinubu to the world leaders, we won't raise taxes on vulnerable Nigerians. And we have 3 riders there. And it says his administration prioritizing the poor, governors to take position on tax bills. We strongly support reforms, IMF. And below all of that, it says DHQ holds Simon Ekpa's arrest in Finland. The 2024 ACF suspends chairman amid North presidency agenda. And you can find all these interesting stories on the Leadership Friday. Please go out and get a copy to stay well informed. And the next we have the Nigerian News Direct, and Anthony will be running us through that paper.
All right, on the Nigerian News Direct, we've got economic reforms is the kicker there. It says Nigerians now understand the need for our reforms, says President Tinubu. Nigerians now understand the need for our reforms, is what Mr. President is saying. And on page 13 is where you find that big story. It has a 6 IMF support for economic stability and reduce hardship. Subheading again, your loan burden is bone crushing, hurting Nigerians, Atiku tells Tinubu. That's the first big story on Nigerian News Direct. Other headline stories there, we've got Nigeria to extradite Simon Ekpa as Finnish authorities effect arrest over terrorism activities. On page 14 is where you find that big story. We've got other headline stories there. It says, LIRS Chairman CACRG Uni Uyo VC confirmed participation in News Direct Awards. Festival of Joy is the kicker there. Glow presents, okay, that's, can grab a copy and you find that out. Sanwo-Olu puts economic sustainability and environment in 3 trillion naira 2025 budget proposal. Page 13 is where you find that big story. Okay, that's all for the Nigerian News Direct.
And next is The Punch, giving us some very punchy headlines. And here on The Punch, above the caption of The Punch, it says, Ekpa's terror charges, federal government presses for extradition as iPod disown Biafra agitator. And you can find that very interesting read on page 2 of The Punch. And here it says, PDP postpones NEC meeting as North Central insists on chair. And you can find that story on page 35 of The Punch. Below at the side of the caption, The Punch, it says 21 states enroll for AFDB 850 billion naira agri scheme. For those of you in business, of course, the economy as a whole, you find that read very interesting on page 25. Federal government governors decide on state police next week. And you can find that on page 16. Now, the star story says, anti-Tinubu comments, ACF suspends chairman as Afenifere others back president. And the rider there says, Tinubu inherited Buhari's economic policies, Ohaneze, Middle Belt, others reply ACF. We'll just see how well all of these plays out at the same point. Now, below the caption there, it says, serial grid collapse, NEC panel to boost power generation in states. And here it says, Lagos, 3 trillion naira 2025 budget prioritizes infrastructure, tourism. And you can find that on page 8. And here it says, visiting US-based Nigerian brought 9 drugs before death. And that's from the police. And you can find that read on page 5. And it says, winners get 77 million naira in Zenith Bank Tech Fair. And that is on page 27. And you can just go out and get more enlightened once you go out and get the Punch newspaper for more information. All right, we'll be going on the next paper, and Anthony will be running us through that. The Nation.
All right, I've got some headlines from the Nation's newspaper. House of Reps throw out 6 years single-term bill for president is the big story there, and it's on page 6 of the Nation's newspaper. We've got DHQ is a rider. Ekpa's arrest in Finland, victory for anti-terror battle. And page 4 is where you find that big story. All right, other stories here. Headline says Senate approves 1.77 trillion naira external loan request. Page 3 is where you find the details of the loan request. BOI's support for MSMEs. Others crosses $5 billion. Page 7 is where that big story is. We've got other headlines. Tinubu is a kicker there. Relief measures for the poor, small businesses to go on is the headline story. Tinubu is a kicker. Relief measures for the poor and small businesses to go on. Another headline story here. 3 states get ultimatum to decide on state pleas is the headline story. And we've got Kwara, Kebbi and Adamawa listed. 3 states get ultimatum to decide on state pleas. Kebbi, Kwara, and Adamawa listed is the headline story. Then we've got the picture story of the governor of Lagos State, Sanwo-Olu, presenting the 2025 appropriation bill to the Lagos State House of Assembly. We've got Sanwo-Olu proposes 3.05 trillion naira 2025 estimates. That's the headline story there. Then we've got bottom plate. ACF suspends Osuman over 2027 comment. We've got page 4, live jail for drug offenders. You find that big story on page 3 of the Nation's newspaper. So those are the headline stories that are coming from the Nation's newspaper.
Next, we have the Daily Trust, and below the caption of the Daily Trust, it says, Reps reject 6-year single term for president and governors. And it says, grid collapse, NEC raises committee on national electrification. Of course, we've been going back and forth with the grid collapse, which is a very unfortunate incident, the issue. And then it says, ex-Fidaco scribe Amadu Kerfi buried in Castina. And here the star story is iPod. Military seeks extradition as Finland jails Ekpa. Now, well, of course, this is one of the stories in which we'll be talking about today, or one of the discuss of the day on Global Morning, looking at how Finland jails Ekpa. And then looking at it, you see how it has to be, they went through the investigation period. There was lots of investigations that took place and all of that, though it lingered, but at the same point, and the rest has been made. And now here below the caption, it says, Palestinians welcome ICC's arrest warrant for Netanyahu. And here on the Daily Trust, it says, girl 13 beats classmate to death in Kogi. A very unfortunate incident there. We hear that a lot. We hear classmates when they bully one another, which is unfortunate. You just wonder, what are the school authorities saying when it comes to issues like this? We've seen where senior prefects deal with younger prefects. We've heard incidents of cases like this, which is really unfortunate. When you sit back and you look at it, you do not want to imagine what the parents of that child must be going through. I'm sure this is not a one-off thing. I'm sure it must have lingered. But of course, when you go out and get yourself the Daily Trust, you find more info on that particular story. And here it says, Kano governor reunites 76 free teenagers with families. That is a step in the right direction, of course. And it says ACF suspends Chairman Osuman over unauthorized statement. And you just wonder, Chairman of ACF, is it not working in sync with other individuals in that particular committee? It's just unfortunate that you see that people are going different paths when you're supposed to be the chairman. You're supposed to hold true to power. You're supposed to work in sync with other committee members for you to work in the same. And then now you hear this sort of stories. Some are in agreement, some are not in agreement. But we just wonder where this will go at the long run. Hopefully,
I think as a chairman, he speaks for the forum. I think probably it's an afterthought because before he would have made such statements, he knows he must have felt the pulse of the forum. There's something he must have discussed before he made that statement, unless it was an afterthought. First of all, for him to be the chairman, he was elected or voted into that place.
True, understandable.
And so there must be some reasons probably why they have had a rethink as regards his comments.
Hopefully we'll see how that plays out, and of course we'll keep you abreast with that news immediately we get some information about it. And that is all on the Daily Trust. Please go out and get yourself a copy and be well informed on the issues making round. And next is...
All right, we've got the Daily Times with the picture story of Mr. President alongside his guest in the villa. We've got in the person of the IMF chair there, that's Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, with the managing director of IMF in the person of Kristalina visiting the president at the villa on the sidelines of the G20 Leaders Summit. Then we've got headlines on top there. It says, People's Democratic Party greater than Wike, Damagun, Nas Kakos speaks. PDP greater than Wike and Damagun, Nas Kakos speaks. And page 3 is where you find that story. Assures party will bounce back. And other headline stories: Senate mauls a military camp to tackle insecurity in Borno local government areas. Senate mauls military camp to tackle insecurity in Borno local government areas is the headline story there. And we've got other stories from page 9. We've got reps reject 6-year single term for president and governors. Then on the international scene, we've got Gaza as the rider. ICC issues arrest warrants for Netanyahu and others. Page 5 is where you find that story. Then other stories here, we've got Senate approves Tinubu's 1.77 trillion naira loan. Page 2 is where you get that story there. Then we've got reforms yielding results despite challenges. Tinubu tells IMF chief in Brazil. Reforms yielding results despite challenges. Tinubu tells IMF chief in Brazil. Those are the headline stories from the Daily Times.
And of course, that is the last story, the last newspaper in which we just ran through on the newspaper review. Let's quickly go on a very quick break. Global Morning continues shortly. Stay tuned. All right, you're welcome back from that very short break. And we're just going to be going through some of the issues making rounds and on the newspaper. We're going to be talking about, for me, one of the captions that caught my eye is the Leadership Friday that says we won't raise taxes on vulnerable Nigerians. And I was discussing with my co-host Tony, and I said, Tony, this is a step in the right direction for as much as vulnerable Nigerians are the less privileged, the poor and all of that. But when you hear some statements, people will tell you everyone is feeling the brunt. It doesn't matter whether you're high class, low class, middle class, everyone feels the brunt of it all. Do you think that's a priority, or it should just be we won't raise taxes for all Nigerians and not just vulnerable Nigerians? In your own words, what do you think?
I think the government is not being they're being economical with the truth, because even if you say you do not raise taxes on the vulnerable Nigerians directly, indirectly it's going to get to the Nigerians, because if you're raising taxes on the elites or the manufacturers or the producers, they have a way of putting back that burden to the end users, the consumers.
True.
And so it means technically the consumer or the vulnerables are still going to pay for that extra tax. You're tasking the producers who import goods, and some of these goods or products that are described as luxury goods, somehow it has a way of trickling down to the vulnerable groups. They've said, okay, they're going to tax only those in the urban areas, but even from the urban areas, it gets to the rural areas. So
very true.
It's just, for instance, it's just like the fuel price. Once there's an increase, it has a way of rubbing off to the market woman, because when she takes her farm produce and she wants to take it back to the town, transportation has increased. So indirectly, I think the government has to be more sincere. I think they just say that for the cameras, and it's disturbing. The last paper we saw, the Daily Times, when Mr. President says the reforms are yielding positive. Despite positive, dividends, despite the challenges, that's talking to the IMF, boss. I think it's unfair, because what that means is that he doesn't have intentions of rescinding some of these decisions or reforms which are not favorable to Nigerians.
But looking at it critically, I know some Nigerians who do not understand what this is all about will say, okay, fine, taxes won't be raised on vulnerable Nigerians. They fall in that class. But like you just mentioned, the connect in which it happens, like the farmer that you mentioned, she has to transport her goods. Definitely, vulnerable Nigerian cannot buy fuel at a lesser price. We all buy fuel at the same price. And talking about vulnerable Nigerians, talking about the electrification, for instance, when it comes to Band A, Band B, Band C. Some people will tell you, we do not understand what is going on. I do not wish to be in Band A, even if some people will say they're vulnerable Nigerians and they fall in that class and they have to pay this high for electricity and all of that. But do you think there's a way they can dwindle around this? Is there a way? Because you said a statement that you're not sure whether the government is being fair, because at the same time it still bounces back. It's like we're going in circles and we've not gotten to a particular direction when it comes to all of this. Is this a way of just numbing the situation, that we understand your plight, we understand the high cost of living, we understand that there are no employment, we understand that electricity tariff is high, we understand that the high cost of living, there's inflation. Let's just douse it down a bit by putting this up. Do you think it's just a show, or the government is really working hard?
In as much as the government is working hard, but the issue is that the tax reforms or the reforms being implemented currently too stringent for Nigerians, and the government has not put some of them. Recently, even the IMF came out, the World Bank came out to say the African countries that are neck deep into current reforms should to rethink their strategy, ensure that they carry the relevant stakeholders along, ensure that they explain to their citizenry the benefits of these reforms, and also give them, succor, something that would help them absorb the shock of this reform. So it means that even the world bodies are aware that the government of these various African countries have not done the needful before implementing these reforms. And if just yesterday the Senate had issues. There was division between the South and the Northern lawmakers because of the new tax reforms. The Northern region believes these reforms are meant to favor Lagos State, take the taxes, the monies that are inimical to the people. So you can imagine what it will be for the ordinary people. And we must understand that the government, the presidency, those in power do not feel the pinch because they're living on taxpayers' money. It's the presidency. They don't buy fuel. They don't buy electricity.
Very true.
So they would not naturally feel the pinch of what these reforms are doing to the ordinary Nigerian. So
in your words, like for someone who is watching and wondering, okay, Anthony Momodu is talking about these reforms. Do you think the vulnerable Nigerians understand these reforms? Do they understand what it actually means?
What they only understand, and you will not blame them, is the fact that prices of goods and services are going up. As long as those prices keep going up and they cannot afford this, and even if when the government increases their salaries, prices are jumping up. It means they are still not able to afford the basic, amenities or basic things for food. Then the reforms doesn't make any sense. But
Truly.
Once they are able to afford what they can eat, feed 3 times, be able to pay school fees,
have a roof over their head,
pay their house rent, get quality health care for their families,
education,
then whatever you're saying makes sense. But as long as these things are still unreachable, whatever tax reforms you're implementing would not mean anything to them.
Especially when it comes to the minimum wage, for instance, with the minimum wage, and yet there's still high cost of living. Like you said, it would not make sense at all. But hopefully these reforms will be succor to individuals, and of course we will understand that once these reforms are into play, and there's this balance when it comes to low cost of living. There's now electricity, employment and all of that, then I think the vulnerable Nigerian will actually understand what these reforms are trying to bring and appreciate the reforms. Now, another story that beats my eye is this story on the Daily Trust that says girl 13 beats classmate to death in Kogi. And you wonder what must have led to that a 13-year-old, it's just will beat classmates to death. Like, seriously, what must have caused that? The school authorities, is it that they do not understand that people bully one another, classmates and all of that? What must have caused that particular? It gives cause for worry, and you wonder, we do not want to understand what the parents of that particular child might be going through. And this is where school authorities have to come in and understand that when you bully a child, when it comes to assault and all of that, we have to take it. It's a very serious issue. We need to talk more about it. We need to create awareness around it. A lot of kids are going through a lot when it comes to classmates, putting pressure on them when it comes to a lot of bullies in schools. And parents need to, do you think it just stops in the school? And your parents have a certain role to play when it comes to when to snap or when to report or when to, parents, I think parents have a lot of role to play when it comes to issues like this, not just the school. We all say it's the school and all that, but parents, what role do you think parents can play when it comes to issues like this, unfortunately?
I think it starts from the home when the child learns bullying starts from the home when the weakness parents technically bully their children, or they see their children bullying their own siblings, and without cautioning them that it's wrong, then they take that to the schools. And for the schools, this is where supervision is important and necessary. And we've seen children bullying other children in schools. And when schools don't have proper supervision, teachers and students are not taught or supervised properly. We see this going on, and for this to have occurred, it tells us the poor supervision in that school, and also for, like you rightly pointed out, it must have been on for weeks or months before it got to the stage of that 13-year-old beating the 13-year-old to death. And the question is, where were the other classmates, where were the teachers and all that for that to have occurred? Because it couldn't have been something that occurred in 1 minute. It must have gone on for 5, and the children must have been yelling and shouting either in excitement or in fear. So what happened? How come there were no teachers or, people to come to the rescue? It again tells us how violent the world has become, and the need for also brings to question religious leaders. We go to churches, we go to mosque Fridays and Sundays. What are being taught in churches and mosques, and that shows this need for peace in the world and for reorientation of the mindset of not just adults but also children. And also, you will not take it away that the harsh economic situation in the country seemed to have gotten through to everybody across board. But it's very disturbing that kids in that teenagers have gotten so violent to as much as take the lives of their
classmates, unfortunately. And then, of course, one of the story that caught my eyes, of course, not the star story there that says Anti-Tinubu ACF suspends chairman as Anifere Fair, others back president. But is this particular story about this ECPA, these terror charges? And it says federal government presses for extradition as IPOD disowns Biafra agitator. What's your take on that? Because let me just hear your take first.
I think it's been a long time coming. ECPA has always stated his point of view or his mindset as regards.
In quote and unquote, he's the prime minister.
Yes, of the Biafran Republic. Yes, I think it's not a place for people to express their grievances or wanting to have their own country, but in the bid of doing that, instigating violence in Nigeria, that's where he has crossed the lines. If he had done it in a very civil way, agitation in a very civil way, then fine. But we know that the sit-at-home a phenomenon that has taken hold in the southeast for this long, and also the issue of Nnamdi Kanu being incarcerated and all that has caused a lot of disturbance for the people of the southeast and Nigeria as a whole. And he has always made a very violent statement against his country, Nigeria, because he is a Nigerian before he decided to relocate, and said he was denounced his citizenship as a Nigerian. So I think he went too far. He played to the gallery. And right now, I know the Nigerian government have been looking for ways to get him extradited back to Nigeria. And finally, I think the Nigerian government have succeeded. And so hopefully he'll be coming back to face the long arm of the law. But I think it's like the military said, it's a victory for Nigeria and for the people of the Southeast. Probably this will end
the sit-at-home order.
The sit-at-home order, and also quicken the release of Nnamdi Kanu from detention.
But I just want to add a little. Do you think ECPA is used as a tool? Because does he understand the gravity on what is happening? Because he wasn't in Nigeria. He was in Finland on the way, understanding that IPOD, we see what happens, how the insecurity in the eastern part of Nigeria, and you see how they are. Some will say they're a terrorist group. You're trying to pass your information, but not in a civil manner. But unfortunately, so do you think he is a tool that doesn't understand the gravity of what this is all about?
He does, because he once represented Nigeria in sport, and he's lived in Nigeria before he moved to Finland. I think he's just one person who is angry with his nation, and just decided to go south in terms of after denouncing Nigeria and cashing in on the Biafran agitation, and took it to another level. In some quarters, according to some members of Ohanaeze Ndigbo, he's been fingered as someone who orchestrated Nnamdi Kanu's arrest. He's been accused of doing some things beyond what was supposed to happen, and he took it a notch further by continuously attacking Nigeria as a country, saying very unpredictable things about Nigeria, and even after denouncing Nigeria, returning back the medals he won for Nigeria when he represented Nigeria. So I think right now it's he went too far, and initially he was banking on the fact that Nigeria and Finland didn't have that treaty for him to be repatriated. But now that this has happened, and it just tells you that finally Nigeria has gotten what they wanted, and we hope this will end the agitation, the negative agitation, so that even if people were to agitate for a separate country, it will be done in a very constructive manner, which at the end should be a referendum rather than try to force Nigerians to get into what they would not want to do ordinarily. So I think it's victory, and also victory for him, because he will be coming back home. Probably he will have a rethink somewhere along the line.
Hopefully he has a rethink somewhere along the line. And like you said, the agitation and all of the things that are happening in the northeastern, the eastern parts of Nigeria, unfortunately, the sit-at-home order has caused a lot of brunt when it comes to businesses, when it comes to the economy and that part. A lot of people have lost a lot of money. That particular order, that sit-at-home order, which is forced on individuals of the eastern part of Nigeria. All right, Anthony, I don't know what the other story catches your eye here before we wrap it up on the newspaper review.
Oh, so it just has to do with the issue of the Niger Delta, Tom Polo, the founder of the Tantita security organization that got the contract to protect the Nigerian pipelines across the Niger Delta. It's disturbing that he has continually accused the Nigerian Navy of colluding with some saboteurs to siphon and involving oil theft. But my worry is the fact that the Nigerian government and the Navy have not decided to have an internal investigation rather than just dismissing his claims and say it's baseless. I think rather there should be a independent investigation to be sure that his claims are not true. I remember initially the Navy's chief, Emmanuel Ogala, was accused directly, and since then that issue was brushed under the carpet. So I think it's time for there should be an independent investigation. Let's be sure that someone is not doing something against the Nigerian state. And for Tom Polo, he also should be called to question. He should also be investigated to be sure that he's also not compromising the security of the pipelines and trying to shift attention and blame to the Nigerian Navy, because it's of national interest what is playing out. And we hope the relevant authorities would do the needful so that we get to the bottom of these counter accusations. And I think those are the issues we'll be looking at this morning as we head into the AM Global News so that we get you well informed. That will be after this break. Please stay with us.
Don't go anywhere.
Time check. It's midday. Then it's Midday Discourse. Midday Discourse is a program that covers trending local and international news, current issues, and human-related topics. Join Samuel Odi weekdays 1 p.m. on Global Television. The discussion starts here.
Business Point on Global Television.
The business world can be dynamic and unpredictable, with headwinds and volatility sometimes becoming an obstacle for players in the business and economy landscape. Watch Business Point on Global Television as Samuel Odi walks you through the twists, turns and curves in bonds, stocks and crucial market indices from a global standpoint. Watch Business Point weekdays on Global Television at 11 a.m. West African time. Business Point. This is business.
Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to AM News on Global Television. Coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja, I am Jumai Manson. Now a quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and free to air on ICOMSAT. Now the news in full. Vice President Kashim Shettima has presided over the 145th meeting of the National Economic Council at the State House, Abuja. The Vice President asked the newest member of the Council, Governor Monday Okpebolo of Edo State, to say the opening prayer after the national anthem. State governors, some deputy governors, and members of President Bola Tinubu's economic team are expected to discuss key economic issues surrounding the 2025 fiscal year, amongst others. The Senate has approved President Bola Tinubu's loan request of $2.2 billion to partially finance the 9.7 trillion naira budget deficit for the 2024 fiscal year. The approval followed the presentation of a report by Chairman, Senate Committee on Local and Foreign Debt, Aliyu Wamako, during plenary presiding over the session. Deputy Senate President Jibrin Barau commended the committee for its swift action and thorough examination of the loan request. In a letter read previously during the Senate and House of Representatives plenaries, Tinubu had explained that the loan is integral to his administration's fiscal strategy for the coming year. He further directed the Senate Committee on Local and Foreign Debts to expedite its review of the request and present a report within 24 hours. The Managing Director of International Monetary Fund, Castellanina Georgieva, says the organization is strongly in support of economic reforms introduced in Nigeria under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Speaking on her ex, Georgieva lauded the economic reforms implemented under the current government. Her statement followed a meeting with President Tinubu on the sideline of the G20 summit in Brazil. The Senate has confirmed the nomination of Omolola Oluwariran for appointment as Director General of the National Pension Commission. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu had written to the Senate requesting confirmation of the nominee. The Senate resolution followed its consideration and adoption of the report from the Senate Committee on Establishment and Public Service during plenary. The lawmakers approved Oluwariran's nomination for the role when Deputy Senate President Barau Jibril, who presided over plenary, put the committee's recommendation to the voice note. Finnish President Tripartite leader Samin Ekpa has been arrested in Finland alongside 4 members of suspicion of terror-related activities, including incitement to violence and terrorism financing. Ekpa was reportedly remanded in custody by the Pajat Hamid District Court on charge of public incitement to commit a crime with terrorist intent. The publication reported that the Finnish Central Criminal Police confirmed the arrest in a statement on Thursday, noting that the other suspects were apprehended for allegedly financing terrorist activities. The police said the detention demands are related to a preliminary investigation in which Finnish citizens of Nigerian descent born in the 1980s is suspected of public incitement to commit a crime to terrorist intent. Ekpa is accused of coordinating violent action against civilians and authorities in Nigeria's southeast region from the Finland, using social media platforms to further his agenda. Defense Headquarters has confirmed the neutralization of notorious terrorist commander Mazar Ya'audu in the northeast. Director of Defense Media Operation Major General Edward Buba, while addressing newsmen on the successes recorded across all theaters of operations, stated that casualties were recorded in the northeast and southeast during the week. Kikelomo Okere has details.
The Director of Defense Media Operations, Major General Edward Buba, says its troops have recorded significant achievements in their ongoing counter-terrorism and counter-insurgency operations across the country. He highlighted the elimination of key terrorist elements, the disruption of criminal networks, and the recovery of substantial assets.
Our troops at a checkpoint within the vicinity of that committee were attacked, and the attack was unprovoked. We recorded some casualties. Indeed, we recorded 3 casualties. Some members of the community say that they have abandoned the location, thinking that troops will carry out, what did you call it? They will come there and just start killing everybody. I need to remind you that we are a professional force. That is not how we operate. Even as much as there will be consequences for the terror group that escalated that situation, our targets are not innocent Nigerians.
He also says the military primary objective remains the identification and destruction of terrorists and their collaborators wherever they may be hiding. He further explained that the Nigerian Air Force has also contributed significantly by conducting precise airstrikes on terrorist enclave to degrade their capabilities and neutralize threats.
We seek cooperation, not conflict. Okay? That's what we want. That is what our people want. That is what Nigeria wants. We want to increase the crude oil production of our nation.
Major General Buba emphasized that while the war against terrorism is challenging, the armed forces remain committed and prepared to ensure the safety and security of citizens. Kikelomo Okere reporting for Global Television News.
Thank you, Kikelomo, for that report. Now, a federal high court in Abuja, presided over by Justice Iyan Ekwo, has adjourned the hearing a motion filed by former Petroleum Minister Diezani Alison Madueke, seeking to amend the originating process of her ongoing legal battle with the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. The hearing has been rescheduled for February 17, 2025. In her application, Alison Madueke argued that the order for the forfeiture of her assets were made without jurisdiction, claiming that she was denied a fair hearing in the proceedings that led to the forfeiture order. She sought 5 orders from the court, including the annulment of the EFCC's public notice on the asset sale. The former minister contended that the various court orders issued in favor of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission violated her constitutional right to a fair hearing as enshrined in Section 36, subsection 1 of the 1999 Constitution. She maintained that she was never served without the charge sheet, proof of evidence of any summons regarding the charges against her. The authorities of Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Akwa, have reinstated Professor Joseph Ikechubulu as the acting vice-chancellor of the institution with immediate effect. This was disclosed in a press statement signed by the Director of Information and Public Relations Protocol Officer of the University, Ijeleta Lewis. Lewis explained that the decision followed the nullification of Professor Bernard Odo's appointment as the 70th substantive vice-chancellor, which was deemed illegal. He said Professor Ikechubulu has been directed to assume full administrative responsibilities for the university immediately. Additionally, Victor Madubolu have been appointed acting registrar following the nullification of Mrs. Rosemary Ifoma Owekiki's appointment as a substantive registrar. The House of Representatives has rejected the second reading of a bill seeking to provide a single term of 6 years for presidents and governors of the plenary. It also seeks to provide that all elections should be held on the same day, as well as other provisions. The bill was introduced for second reading by the lead sponsor, Rep. Ugo Chinyere, and seconded by, however, when the bill was put into voice vote by the Speaker, Abbas Tajuddin, there was a loud nay from the members. Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives Benjamin Kalu has disclosed that the National Assembly is considering amendment to 161 areas in the 1999 Constitution ongoing review. Briefing newsmen after a closed-door session with governors of 36 states of the Federation during their meeting in Abuja, Kalu said governors are critical stakeholders in the process, hence the need for their inputs. The federal lawmaker body is considering the issues of state police electoral reform, local government autonomy, diaspora voting autonomy of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, pre- and post-election concerns, and court rulings on electoral matters, among others, in review. Kalu, who is chairing the Committee on Constitution Review at the House of Representatives, said the governors were in support of the initiative and ready to welcome the lawmakers when they start visiting various states for public hearings. Now, in what has been described as a testament to progressive governance, Imo State has joined the ranks of 4 other states in Nigeria rewarded by the World Bank under the State Action and Business Enabling Reform Program. The recognition comes under the State Action of Business Enabling Reform Program, which assesses states on their effort to improve the Ease of Doing Business Index. From Imo State, here is our correspondent, Amarachi Ibe. She tells us more.
The State Commissioner for Information, Public Orientation and Strategy, Declan Emelumba, during a press briefing in Owerri, the state capital, says the state received $4 million, an equivalent of 6.8 billion naira, for its impressive performance in promoting good governance, transparency, and accountability. Emelumba noted that the World Bank assessed states based on 4 critical criteria: efficiency of land administration, regulatory framework for private investment in fiber optic infrastructure, performance of investment promotion agency, and transparency of government to business services.
This is a clear testament to the government's commitment to progressive governance, economic empowerment, and sustainable development. This equally and clearly vindicates the governor as a man who has been focused in his administration and enabling seamless land registration and boosting land-based investments.
He further stated that the success story was due to Governor Hope Uzodinma administration's doggedness in implementing focused reforms to enhance land registration, boost investor confidence, and create a seamless business environment.
The World Bank has rewarded Imo State government with a whooping sum of $4 million, almost 7 billion naira, for good governance, engendering good governance, and accountability in the ease of doing business.
The recognition of Imo State by the World Bank signals its emergence as a hub for investment and economic opportunities, citing an example for other states across Nigeria. From Owerri, Amarachi Ibe, reporting for Global TV News.
Thank you, Amarachi, for that report. Now, amid ongoing internal disputes within the People's Democratic Party, governors on its platform say they will meet in Jos Plateau State to discuss internal matters and the current state of the nation. The meeting is in preparation for the 99th National Executive Committee meeting of the party scheduled for November 28th. It has been reported that the acting national chairman Umar Damagun, National Security Sam Anyanwu, and National Legal Advisor Kamaldeen Ajibade San are invited to the meeting. At the 98th National Executive Committee meeting held on April 18th, party leaders approved the formation of a reconciliation and disciplinary committee and the conduct of ward and state congresses, and instructed the North Central Caucus to consult on the national chairmanship position. The National Assembly and the Nigerian Export Processing Zones Authority have urged operators of free trade zones to advise and implement more impactful and sustainable strategies aimed at fostering the development, economic growth, and regeneration of the communities that host these zones. They stress that operators must ensure that their local environments benefit significantly from the presence of these businesses and that the social and infrastructure needs of communities are adequately addressed. This call was made after a two-day inspection of several free trade zones located at the Lekki axis of Lagos State, led by the Managing Director of the agency, Dr. Olufemi Ogunyemi, along the members of the Senate Committee on Trade Investment. A development expert and founder of the Global Initiative of Nigeria Development, Michael Ali, has cautioned the federal government against implementing tax reforms that could deepen poverty among Nigerians. Ali, in a statement in Ado-Ekiti State, described the proposed tax reforms as a grossly capitalist policy that will stiff economic growth and worsen the plight of the masses. He urged the government to focus on creating an enabling environment and addressing social concerns instead of burdening citizens with additional taxes. Ali argued that sustainable development required more than just increased revenue. President General of the National Union of Local Government Employees, Hakeem Ambali, has called for revitalization of Nations Council to free them from shackles of state governments. Ambali made the call in Abuja on the second day of the Forum of Heads of Local Government Administration in Nigeria, where he charged the local government stakeholders to unite to reform the councils represented by Engineering Kayode Adebayo. The union's President General stated that the autonomy given to local government is challenging and must not be trampled upon by maladministration, as it will bring out good governance, bridge infrastructure gap, and stop rural to urban migration if properly utilized. 4 days after Ondo State governorship election, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has presented certificates of return to Ondo State Governor-elect Lucky Ayedatiwa and his deputy Adelamu Alayede. Our correspondent, Indika Michael, tells us more.
At a brief ceremony at the INEC headquarters in Abuja, the INEC chairman, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, commends the people of Ondo for peaceful conduct during the election. The INEC chairman, who was represented by Professor Kunle Ajayi, supervising National Commission of Ondo elections, urges the governor-elect and the deputy to uphold the democratic principles by delivering good governance.
And this symbolizes the official acknowledgement of the mandate conferred by the good people of Ondo State on the 16th November 2024. It is also a reminder of the trust that has been placed in you as the governor-elect and the deputy governor-elect to uphold democratic ideas and work tirelessly to deliver good governance.
In his response, the governor-elect lauded the effort of the security agencies in their efforts to promoting peace and assured all people resident in Ondo State to run a people-centric governance.
I also like to thank the security agencies. I commend their effort for their professionalism all through the election. They provided security for both lives and properties and materials, and the election have been adjudged as one of the most peaceful elections in Nigeria.
Ayedatiwa of APC defeated Abola Ajayi of the People's Democratic Party and 15 other candidates. He won across all 18 local government areas of the state, polling 366,781 votes against Ajayi's 117,845 votes. The governor also has promised dividends of democracy to the people of Ondo on the occasion of his certificate of return, reiterating his commitment to give back to the society by some infrastructure development on these 4 years. Deacon Michael from the INEC headquarters of Abuja, reporting for Global TV News.
With Michael for that report. Now, the opposition People's Democratic Party in Ondo State has alleged that Lucky Ayedatiwa took 20 billion naira from the state treasury to fund his campaign for last Saturday's governorship election in the state. But in a swift reaction, the ruling party refuted the claim, describing it as false and baseless. However, the Director of Media and Publicity for the ruling All Progressive Congress Ondo State, Steve Otaloro, rubbished the claim, describing it as fallacy. You're watching AM News on Global Television, coming to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. When AM News returns, Lagos State says it is committed to sustainable retail industry growth. Details of these, as well as foreign and sports stories, coming right after this break. Please stay with us. You're welcome back, and if you're just tuning in, this is AM News on Global Television. Thank you for staying with us. On our business desk, the Nigerian Consumer Credit Corporation has kicked off its Project TAG, Securing Consumer Assets for Local Enterprises, also called SCALE, an initiative to accelerate the growth of Nigerians' local industries by providing consumer credit to Nigerians, specifically for the purchase of goods and services for local vendors and manufacturers. A statement noted that this was part of President Bola Tinubu's vision for the acceleration of consumer credit assets for Nigerians to improve quality of life, stern corruption, and catalyst industry. It notes that SCALE connects Nigerian consumers with credible local manufacturers and vendors across critical sectors while ensuring consumers afford these products via affordable consumer credit. The Lagos State government has restated its commitment to fostering sustainable growth in the retail industry through policy initiatives and public-private partnership. This was stated by the Consumer Commissioner for Commerce, Cooperative Trade and Investment, Folashade Ambrose Mabaden, at the African Retail Congress 24 held at the Lagos Business School. Ambrose Mabaden stated that she had observed firsthand the profound impact of the retail sector on Lagos State's economic trajectory, adding that the sector is a vibrant engine of economic growth and employment generation and social development. She also said the state showcased a robust retail environment that serves as a symbol of innovation, resilience, and opportunity, which has fueled its commitment to harnessing the potential of the sector. Let's quickly go on a very quick break. AM News continues shortly. You're welcome back, and if you're just tuning in, this is AM News on Global Television. Welcome back from that very quick break. On our foreign scene now, the Mali junta has appointed military officer Major General Abdoulaye Maiga as the new prime minister, a day after sacking civilian Premier Kanjolo Kakole Maiga following his criticism of the military leadership. Abdoulaye Maiga previously served as a government spokesman. The West African nation, beset by jihadist and separatist violence, has been under military rule since successive coups in 2020 and 2021. Although Abdoulaye Maiga was not part of the initial group of colonels who overthrew the civilian president in August 2020, he quickly aligned himself with them and has since been promoted to general. Kenya has deployed a heavy police presence ahead of President William Ruto's State of the Nation speech. This comes as he faces criticism over abductions, corruption, and unpopular economic policies. These are some calls online to protest Ruto's speech in Parliament, but the energy behind the mass demonstrations between June and August sparked by proposed tax raises is gradually reduced. Ruto is making his third State of the Nation address since taking office in 2020 with a pitch to help the country's poor. In sports now, Manchester City midfielder Rodri has stirred controversy in football circles with his remarks about Cristiano Ronaldo, claiming that Portuguese star lacks innate talent compared to Lionel Messi. Rodri, who is recovering from knee surgery, made the statement during an interview with Spanish TV program El Magare, reflecting on the debate over who is the greatest player of all time. The Spaniard sided firmly with Messi, with offering a pointed critical of Ronaldo's abilities. The midfielders described the contrasting challenges of facing the two football icons, emphasizing that Messi posed a far more presentive threat on the pitch. Chelsea have eased into the women's Champions League quarter-finals with 3-0 win over Celtic, while Lyon and Real Madrid also booked their places in the knockout phase. Chelsea have won all 1-1 games under Rapoport, who made to London in May after 3 years in charge of Lyon. Joining Chelsea in quarter-finals in the same section as Real Madrid after their battling 3-0 victory away from Twente. Madrid are second on the 9 points but cannot be overtaken by Twente after winning both meetings between the teams. NBA superstar LeBron James said he was taking an indefinite hiatus from social media after sharing a post which railed against negative coverage in U.S. media. James, who has seen 212 million combined followers in his Instagram and X accounts, announced his break from social media after sharing a post by Rich Kallman, the longtime agent of NBA star Kevin Durant. As we end the AM news, let's take a quick look at our top stories again. We brought to you that Vice President Kashim Shettima has presided over the 145th meeting of the National Economic Council of the State House, Abuja. And in business, Nigerian Consumer Credit Corporation has kicked off its project tagged Securing Consumer Assets for Local Enterprises, also called SCALE, an initiative to accelerate the growth of Nigerians' local industries by providing consumer credit to Nigerians specifically for the purchase of goods and services to local vendors and manufacturers. On our foreign news, brought to you that Mali Junta has appointed military officer Major General Abdoulaye Maida as a new Prime Minister, a day after sacking civilian Premier Kandil Kakale following the criticism of the military leadership. And finally, on sports, Manchester City midfielder Rodri has stirred controversy in football circles with his remarks about Cristiano Ronaldo, claiming Portuguese star lacks infant talent compared to Lionel Messi. And that's it on AM News, and came to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. A quick reminder that Global TV is on DSTV channel 365, on Star Times channel 276, and free to air on Nigerian. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms down showing on your screen by using a Global TV NG. I am Jumai Manson. Thank you for watching. Good morning.
All right, welcome back. You're still watching Africa's Finest Breakfast Show, Global Morning, and it's time for us to hit the discuss button as we look at very imperative issues making the rounds across the African continent. And we're looking at the issue of the National Economic Council giving ultimatum to states to make their stance clear as regards the issue of state policing. And I will be looking at it from a very close perspective. And we've got, as usual, we get the finest minds in the continent to help us look at issues from very balanced and deep perspective. And today is no different, as we've got Ibrahim Abubakar, who is a global television analyst, security and political analyst, to help us look at this very, very interesting, intriguing talking point this morning. I want to say thank you very much for joining us in the live studios.
Thank you, and good morning.
All right, let's look at the issue of insecurity in the country. We know it's no longer news, but the big issue is the fact that we've got 3 states that seem to be dilly-dallying on taking their stand, making their stand clear. We're looking at Kebbi, Kwara, Adamawa, and the FCT not coming out clear as regards their position for state police. Do you think there's a reason why these 3 states is taking so long a time for them to come out clearly, especially when you look at even Kwara, who the chairman of that committee is also the governor of the state? What do you think is the issue?
I don't think it is a typical issue, because when your hands are not bound, you will not want to listen to anybody who will tell you how hands are bound. If you have not encountered failure, you will never know how painful failure is. So the insecurity threat has not gone into Kwara as much, even to Kebbi. The Adamawa one came during the Boko Haram, which happens only in the northern part of Adamawa, and it was somehow managed or contained. I think the other issue is the feeling of the federal might. So what is the federal structure on policing? So I think FCT is already the central for the federal government, so they don't feel state policing is going to be of any significant importance to them in FCT. I think that is the point I'm coming from, because even when the state police is established or put into act to operate, Abuja FCT still remain the central for the federal might. So is it essential for them to build another policing formation? I think that is the issue of FCT dictating right. But that of Kebbi, the insurgency, the banditry, and the rest is more centered in Zamfara, Katsina, and other states. Now they have shifted to Sokoto. It has not touched Kebbi as much as anybody would think of. So I believe they are more relaxed that way and saying that do we really need state police for now? And also, you also look at your capability as a state. What is your GPI and all those things, your GDP and all those stuff. And if you are looking at all those things, you just want to calculate how much have you taken care of your civil servants and all the people you are owing. It's an obligation to serve, so have you be able to cover them up? So there are so many things when you want to think of establishing a state police that maybe some of the states are not looking at.
All right. Some have. Do you agree with the school of thought that says we know that when this was mooted initially, the IGP of police, Kayode Egbetokun, was not in support of state policing. Do you think that's one of the reasons why he also has not made the FCT come forward with it? And from your perspective as a security expert, this state policing, the idea behind state policing is for the communities, the rural areas, the units to be involved. Technically, having people there that will be as close to the people so that they can give direct information to the police, so that the police is closer to the people. Is that not the essence? So even if the FCT already has the police formations here, wouldn't it also mean that when the state policing occurs, community policing will be closer? It means those in Armagh, in the council areas, it's going to be closer to the people. Wouldn't it be of difference?
Of a fact, we know that it could have been of a different, but has even the federal police gotten it right? Okay. Are we supposed to start from community policing? No. I've addressed this issue holistically several times.
Okay.
We don't have to start with community policing.
Why?
Community policing is like somebody who have not graduated from a class going to another class. We are supposed to start with grassroots policing.
Oh.
So if we know, when you don't know the people in the grassroots, you don't even, because from grassroots policing, we come to neighborhood policing. Mm. You don't know the people who are in your neighborhood. How will you come to community policing? So you can see that we are not trained, we don't go back to the background to get a specific training. Because from community policing, you are going to state policing. So meaning that you know everybody that is in your state.
Wow.
So when you cannot profile the people from the grassroots to the neighborhood to the community to the state, what are you going to do? You are just like an empty barrel trying to do what you don't know how to do best. So in containing crime within an environment, you must know those people who are in that environment. So that if they said Mr. Augustine has an issue, or there is an issue between the children of Augustine, I, as a policeman, I know how many children Augustine has. I know how many people stays with Augustine. I will be able to testify to the characters and possessions of Mr. Augustine's children, because I know everything about them. So in a situation where you even go to, let's go to Betama police station now, or
okay.
I will look for a high profile person that you say the police must know the person. They will not be able to show you the house of the person. So that is even a high profile person. So you come back again and ask for somebody who is not a high profile person. So it will be difficult to even get a trace or a hold of the person. So we most of the time goes to two things that we are not too grounded on. And fundamentally that shake our foundation, because already the foundation is 40. The policing network in Nigeria is already 40 and shaking. So, but we shouldn't look at that to say the police, my only fear is if there is establishment of state police and we have not gotten it right from the federal level, are you sure the chief executives of the states will not use it to intimidate other people? That is my only concern. What platform of training are they going to give to the people who are going to be the administrators of this state police?
Okay, the forum has already said if these three states do not, they've given them a deadline, 1 week deadline to state their stance on this issue of state policing. That if they don't come up with their own position, the group is going to take a final decision, and it would be binding on the 36 states whether they like it or not. Do you think that stand is fair enough?
You see, it is one thing to establish a National Economic Council. I'm not against it.
Okay.
But those who are in the National Executive Council, do they have the interests of the people? Did they really have they gone to galvanize, sensitize the people of their state? Or they are just imposing it on the people because of their positions? Because democracy is not about you as the executive. You represent them, but it is not the duty of the governor, who has only 4 or 8 years tenure, to impose a system on the people. Because the scheme is, if you impose a system on the people, who is coming next? How will the people take it? But these are the things that sometimes makes people to say, are we really in charge with the masses? Or the executives are in charge and they take unilateral decisions for us? So if you asked those governors now, what consultation have they made in their various states? Nobody will give you an answer. All what they will tell you is, we need a state police. Not because they have consulted with the people from ward to ward, from local government to local government, and take a decision that we need state police.
Okay. The reason why the National Economic Council is pushing for state police is the fact that the insecurity across the country. As a security expert, do you think the state police is the antidote to the insecurity in the country? Or do you think there's another strategy Nigeria can employ?
We have not even developed any strategy for the insecurity in the nation. No strategy at all. Nothing has been done.
So you say the service chiefs have no strategy?
They have no strategy. Let us not even argue about it. These things don't take more than 6 months, 1 year to address. So no strategy at all. All what they are doing is bring the security vote and let's share.
Wow.
So the more the insecurity, the better for them, the more security votes.
So
if you want to look at it,
okay,
how long will it take? How many people are these
service chiefs?
No, how many people are these
terrorists?
Hoodlums? I don't want to call them terrorists because they are not.
How would you describe them?
They are just bandwagons propelled by some set of people to cause disaffections in the country.
So are you insinuating these are propelled by politicians?
Okay, I want to ask a question, a clear question. Since the insecurity template started, from the Niger Delta to Northeast to Northwest or wherever, even the kidnapping syndrome and the rest, how many councillors has been killed or kidnapped? How many local government chairmen has been kidnapped? How many state House of Assembly members has been kidnapped? How many House of Rep member has been kidnapped? How many senators has been kidnapped? How many deputy governors has been kidnapped? How many governors has been kidnapped? How many ministers has been kidnapped? So, if this is not taking place, who are these people really after? Who are they after? Because you must have an ideology.
But we hear them attack villages, the vulnerable groups.
I have counted the political class in Nigeria. How many of them? Give us analysis. So you are who are you against? Who?
Right. Let's
apart from some maybe misidentity or so, or some core group taking advantage and doing some things, you'll find out that none of this class of people has actually been affected in one way or the other.
So it means that the political class are using these people against the citizenry.
I will not say the political class are using them, because in that they will say you have a reason to voice your mind. Yes, I have my reason to voice my mind, but we should go back to analyze it from the beginning to where it is.
Okay.
So why this? So if I'm not touched,
okay,
and I don't have empathy, I'm feeling for my people. As far as the Nigerian syndrome is, it is not coming to me. So what is mine?
Okay,
I can go home freely.
Well, let's look at this issue of state police. You made a very important, statement as regards has the federal even succeeded in terms of federal police now, in terms of the welfare of the personnel and the strategy. Do you think this state police is going to be another opportunity for monies to be siphoned and maybe jobs for the boys and all that? How do you see this panning out, the expenditure of implementing state police, the cost implications?
Let's look at the governors are actually the chief security officers of their states, their various states. And we have state policing. Now we are even borrowing another $2.2 billion US dollars. If you start state policing, you need logistics, you need materials, you need security processes, programming, management, administration. How will a state that cannot survive on its own fall back on the federal allocations survive this to provide security for the people when we have not even built?
But what of the security votes that the state gets every month?
Is that even now that there is no state police, the security votes is not even enough. So is it when they have a state police that the security votes will be there? No, the truth remains this. Most states will not be able to finance state policing effectively. 2, they have no basic tools to do that. 3, training of personnel and manpower will be a difficult challenge. Yes, it is going to weaken some element of security. It is going to weaken some that. And when you look at it very well, you find out that we are only chasing something that we have not been able to. So if we have standardized the federal policing,
okay,
and we have been able to build what we call business and economic security, and we are establishing state police, then everybody will be relaxed to say they can go and establish state police.
But when you say business, and what do you mean by that?
Security is supposed to generate revenue. Security is not supposed to be dependent on the government, and that is why they use them. Because he will play the piper dictates the tunes.
True.
From my study of security, in the first 2 years, we can be generating 50 trillion naira. And in the next 5 to 10 years, we'll be generating about 150 trillion, more than oil and gas. So if you are
but do you have the process how this can be done?
This is a study I have carried out. So if you can generate that sum, and the federal law says that if you generate, you can take home 30%. Okay. So assuming you generate 50 trillion from security, and you're taking home 30%, that is about 15 trillion. So that means you can pay an average policeman on the street about 500,000 as minimum salary. So I am very sure if an average policeman is receiving 500,000 to 1 million naira as minimum salary, which goes to like a constable, you understand me, he will do his job without any recourse to anybody.
True.
So when you are not generating, because you are not trained on business and economic security, then there is a problem. So will the state be able to build the kind of security we want? Because I can't deploy, if we want to go very straightforward,
okay,
you cannot tell the Nigerian military that, okay, you are being deployed to Liberia for a mission. They will ask you, sir, we agree we are going for a mission. How long is that mission going to take? 6 months. The 6 months is going to cost us so much. Pay us. And they will go as far as it's 6 months and there is an extension. You pay the bills. But when we are doing it here where we say Commander-in-Chief, President and Commander-in-Chief, they just tell you deploy 1,000 men to Liberia. You just carry your men without knowing what is going to happen. You start running around for logistics for your men to survive. That is not a practice.
Okay, I just want to help the Nigerian police force here. Can you unveil a little bit how this business angle, they can generate these funds and be practical? I'm just trying to see how your research, which ways.
Let them come and consult Global TV. I will tell them how to generate the funds.
Okay, let's away from that now. In terms of, we know that there's always this issue of weaponry, the police force not being well equipped and all that. Do you see that challenge also when it has to do with state policing?
I have mentioned it. I told you basic tools, training, and other measures. Most of the states will not be able to survive it. Let's just be very frank. With modern policing, no way. Most of the states will not be able to survive it.
Okay, now that we've got 33 states already in tune with, technically have agreed to state policing, while we're waiting for the other 3 states. What is going to be the fate of this now at the end of the day? Do you think it's going to be job overlapping? And there's been this fear that state governments were going to use state policing to, cow their rivals, opposition parties, and all that. Do you see this generating or causing unrest at the state level if this eventually comes to pass?
I've said that I've said it, yeah, maybe you didn't listen to me very well, that the fear is the state police being hijacked by the chief executives. But on the other way around, if it is, you should also know that the same chief executive is just going to stay for 4 years or 8 years and it must exist. So, the other way around, you have that confidence, but it's going to weaken. The only thing the state policing is going to do is going to weaken some of the agencies. Like Code of Conduct Bureau has no job any longer if the state policing. EFCC has no job. ICPC has no job.
How? Because they're quite different.
That is what you're saying, but I took over. Like some states, even up to today, they will tell you, why must they arrest my state governor? It is about money where they want to complain, not EFCC, not ICPC. You understand me?
Okay.
By establishing state police, you have already cut into the dichotomy of the federal. You know that. So you cannot just come to a state and say, I'm an EFCC staff coming to a Fed arrest. With whose permission did you come in? The chief of police in that state must be aware of your coming, and he has a right to tell you, you have no right to investigate this case here because we have the state laws. So remember that the state police and the state itself is going to be governed by their laws, not by federal laws.
Okay.
So have they been able to create a dichotomy where the federal can come into issues that regard a state? So people don't look at the implications of a particular rule that has to have aligned with security before they come about security. I've been here several times in the country trying to bring about security laws. Up to today, we have no security laws.
Do you think it's deliberate or is there an oversight?
You cannot give what you don't have. If you ask the police now what is their major establishment right, they will tell you it is to protect life and properties. You don't know my properties. You don't know how my life runs. So how can you protect them? Have you seen the police compensate anybody for our one-term duties? No. Because they will tell you they don't know. But the truth is that for me to lose out on a property, the police is supposed to be held responsible.
Okay.
For you to lose a life, the police is supposed to be held responsible. Because you did not protect that life. You understand me? Yeah, there is no opposite to that. Nobody holds the police responsible. Because there are no security laws. This is a country where a police post will arrest and said even a police divisional office will arrest, prepare charges and take somebody to court, saying the commissioner of police versus the suspect. It's not done anywhere in the world. Was the commissioner of police there when you were charging this person to court? What did he know about the case? And we have the legal system who will also, I will see our legal officers go into court and they will pronounce a case between commissioner of police and a suspect or inspector general of police and a suspect, and they will never say, we want to see the inspector general of police because my client has a case with the inspector general of police and no other person to come and testify. That is another issue that we are supposed to address on security laws. There are so many things we have to address on security laws to bring it in and know who to penalize. So when you say there are corruption in the system, there are corruption which are based on ignorance, based on lack of knowledge, based on so many factors. So the rule of law cannot take place when there is also no security law. Nothing guiding you, and you are just rendering service. What service are you rendering? So I have advocated for security laws, and unfortunately nobody will listen because they too don't know what is supposed to be a security law. So you are talking to an empty bucket every day, and it can never get filled because it's like a basket. You're drilling it in, and we don't have the quest for knowledge. We have a quest for power and authority. So it is a different ballgame.
All right, really very sad commentary there. All right, we'll go for a very quick break. When we return from the break, our discussion will continue. This time we'll focus on the victory, according to the defense headquarters, of the fact that the man called Simon Ekpa has been arrested, and the treaty between Nigeria and Finland is coming to play, where he will be extradited back to the country to face charges of terrorism and other issues of treason. This will be our bone of discussion when we return from this break. Stay with us. All right, welcome back from that break. We're still on Global Morning, and this time we're shifting gear to the next talking point, still talking security matters, as we look at the issue of Simon Ekpa, who has been arrested and currently in Finland, who will be extradited back to Nigeria. We're still talking with Global Television's security and political analyst in the person of Ibrahim Abubakar, who's been giving us deep knowledge, insight as regards, first of all, the issue of state policing and the cost implications of what Nigeria is trying to get herself into. Let's look at this. Do you agree with the defense headquarters that this is victory for Nigeria? The final arrest and impending extradition of Simon Ekpa back to the country. Do you think it's going to give the needed impact, especially in the people of the Southeast, the sit-at-home phenomenon and other issues? And do you also believe it's going to quicken the release of Nnamdi Kanu?
Well, let me come to the subject of Simon Ekpa. You build a forest. You allow one entity to build a forest, and now the forest is wide enough to accommodate a lot of people, a lot of trees and vegetation, and you're coming now to tell me because you cut one tree down, it is congratulations. Well, I can congratulate defense. One person has been given instruction of sit at home for several months and years now. And nothing has been done by the defense to contain ESN, iPod, all this while having confrontations with them. And the person is in Finland giving instruction here in Nigeria, and everybody obeys that instruction. They have built a pillar wider than what the defense think. So the arrest of Simon Ekpa, to me, is not going to do anything because they have another person to take over. Nnamdi Kanu was there. When he was arrested, it stopped the movement of iPod. There is, in security, we have what we call conflict resolution.
Okay.
In security, we have crisis management. How many people have been trained on crisis management? These are just things that they are internal conflicts. In conflict management, there is the right to negotiation or right to abridge, right to subjections, right to management, right to administration, right to protection. So you can call somebody to protective custody.
Okay.
And at the end of the day, the person goes without aiming. And before you know, you get the needed results.
Okay.
To me, I was thinking that by keeping Nnamdi Kanu in detention, by now, they will have getting the needed results, extract what they need to extract from him, and go. But yeah, what we do here is we bring people to detention who are supposed not to be relevant, and we make them relevant. We have made a lot of people who are not supposed to be relevant to the scheme of things to become so relevant and so popular.
They become cult heroes.
Yes. Because when you have made somebody relevant, there is no way you are going to turn that person irrelevant.
True.
We will have made this airport thing. Insecurity is supposed to have gone long ago underground. But we also blow the trumpet for the people, for some people, and add band and jita to it. So, and you don't want the people to dance to the music. Nigerians are very emotional people, and we are being driven by our emotion. Even the security arms, all the security arms are not even trained on emotional intelligence. So we're even within the security, they still dance to emotions. And that is why somebody can come here and said, this was done to me because I'm a Muslim. This was done to me because I'm a Christian. This was done to me because I'm Hausa. This was done to me because I'm Yoruba. This was done to me because I'm Igbo. This was done to me because I'm from Annam. I am a minority. But when we are trained on emotional intelligence and anger management, it will be difficult for anybody to say, I was ill-treated because I am this, because I am that, because I am Fulani. So we should look at it that, are we getting Simon Ekpa here to make him relevant? Because the way they are going by it is to make the young man become more relevant. And somebody else could take over from him.
For you, what would have been the better move?
This is not the time to talk of the better move, because the move would have started a long time ago, when it was still within Nnamdi Kanu and the rest. He was sent to court, he was released and rearrested again. Those issues would have been treated even before his first release and rearrest. What will make the SSS tell me today that they were unable to penetrate the iPod or the ESN? If the security network cannot penetrate and hijack the iPod and hijack ESN, then we have no security. And that is why I continue to say we don't have security. The people who are in charge of our security don't know what to do. They are not managers and administrators.
Okay, let's look at, because you raised a very interesting angle, talking about bringing him down to Nigeria is likely to make him a bigger figure, and also someone else might take over. At the end of the day, if he's brought, is there a way we can re-manage this issue now that it's obvious he's likely to be brought into the country?
If we know what to do, why not? It's not an island.
You're talking about bringing him into custody and probably extracting something and letting him go. Could that be another option in order not to further?
Well, there is nothing. he called himself the Prime Minister of IPOD. Or the Prime Minister of Biafra, whether he's a Prime Minister of Biafra, Prime Minister of this, to me, it's irrelevant. As a security professional, is irrelevant. Whatever he called himself is irrelevant. He was not even in Nigeria. He was in Finland, telling us that he's the Prime Minister of indigenous people of Biafra, or is the Prime Minister of Biafra. That I care less about that. What I know is that this is Nigeria. Are we going to doctrinate him? Are we going to rebuild him? Are we going to restructure him? Are we going to talk to his mind? So, the organ of managing the situation is the best organ. If we cannot infiltrate into them, then we don't have anything to discuss about it.
Okay, now IPOB has already come out to disown him, and he's also been accused of being one of those who technically, implicated or set Nnamdi Kanu up. Do you think when IPOB was proscribed, that was also another wrong action by the Nigerian government? Because IPOB has kept saying they are not Boko Haram. They've not killed like the Boko Harams and all that. And Boko Haram and other ISWAP and other groups were not quickly, or the Shiite group were not quickly proscribed, like IPOB was quickly proscribed. Do you think that the proscription of IPOB was done out of malice?
No, it is not out of malice. When you are in charge of security, or you are a security chief, there are decisions you don't take. But because of the fear of unknown, some of them act in prosy.
Okay.
And some of them act with being sensitivity and emotion. I said emotion drive a lot of them because they are not trained on emotional intelligence. So emotion drive them to say, we are fighting this and this is coming up. Okay. You don't have, to me, they don't have anything to fight.
Serious?
They don't have anything to fight. Let them bring a competent person to manage the Nigerian security and see whether we are going to have security challenges in the next 1 year.
Are you saying the service chiefs, the chief of army staff, the chief of defense staff, the Navy, the Air Force, these men all are not good enough?
In every part of the world, the defense and military security is just 5% of national security.
Okay.
Just 5% of national security. They are just under protective security. So, if you want to bring security from the first arm of securities, citizen and human rights security, business and economic security, political security, environmental security, industrial security, productive security, security and the press, go back to security engineering. The only last arm of security is protective security. That is where they fall into.
Protective security.
Yes. So that is just about 5% element of security in all.
But the government...
So even if you widen it to 10%, good enough. You understand me? But even if you widen it to... So are they supposed to appear when the other arms are lacking? So the police is lacking in the other arms. The military are lacking in the other arms. So you don't give out what you don't have. That is the wrong template. And that is why we are facing the challenges we are facing.
I just want, from the perspective of looking at what it is now, is there a way out for Nigeria as it is right now?
There is always a way out. You can't put a pole, a round pole on a square hole and think that you are going to is going to fit in. It's not going to fit in.
Have you tried, this is just a personal question to you, have you tried reaching out from this perspective?
I will reach out to whom?
The relevant people, because if they don't have this knowledge, this awareness that this is a route to go, we might just be going in circles.
If you have a proposal to Ministry of Defense, for example, and they call you for a presentation,
yes,
you give a presentation and everybody clap and you will never call back, are you going to beg the Minister of Defense or beg the service chief to call you? No, so, are you going to beg them to call you?
Does this now tell us what the former president, head of state did say, that when insecurity festers for more than 24 hours, the government and relevant people are aware and have a hand in it? Does it tally?
It may be right, because as a chief executive of a nation, and he said that, then he should be right because he has his basic information. I won't say he's wrong, because he is the chief executive officer and he represents the whole nation. So, but the truth is that when security issues are not addressed within a certain ample of time, then there is something funny somewhere. It is either, I have said it here, lack of knowledge, ignorant, or non-adequate informations. Because intelligence works with informations. So, and several times you will even see it, that they have security information. They have intelligent information for so thing, and the things still happen. So if you have intelligent informations, why must that thing happen? How?
All right, let's, as we wrap up our discussions, let's look at the issue of Samuel Ekpa again, being brought back to Nigeria. We know he's of dual citizenship. Do you think Nigeria will be able to get the needed information and try him for treason, knowing fully well that he has double nationality? At what point do you think Finland might step in to say, wait a bit, this is also our own citizen?
When you accuse somebody with dual citizenship, if it was not dual citizenship, I don't think even Finland will allow him to come here.
Okay.
Because one,
he'll be their citizen only.
Yeah, when last did he visit your country? Who have come in? And if he visit your country such time, when was this propagated? So time. So we cannot release him because it is not.
Doesn't tally.
Yeah, it doesn't tally at all. Why they are going to release him is because he has dual citizenship. And in so doing, you have to also look at the diplomatic
treaty between
Nigeria and Finland.
Okay.
Remember, the Finland embassy will go through all the processes. The investigation process, to even if you charge him to court, they are going to be there to witness everything that is going through. And you know they have a way they compensate their citizens. So they may allow him go through some days, and they will come in later when they know that the Nigerian government is compromising some issues. They will not allow him be. No matter what you do, they are going to send their intelligence officers to witness every detail of what. So we have to be very careful in addressing this, because it has become a diplomatic issue.
Sure.
So if we are here saying that
His victory.
His victory, his congratulations, and all these things. We have to also be very careful that we are dealing with somebody that has dual citizenship, and the intelligent corps will be here. We have to be very strong and very intelligent and very upright in what we do, because they have more superior technology. Yeah, to extract our destiny. Remember, he's under their custody now. They are going to peruse. They are going to profile him. They are going to have discussions with him before ever extraditing him to Nigeria. So he's not just there as on Tea Party. As far as they are concerned, he has not committed any offense against their nation. So how many Nigerian intelligence officers are there with him to also see how the process in Finland is going? How they peruse, how they profile him in Finland. Do we have intelligence officers with him there? The answer is no. And you should also know that whether we like it or not, we have covert and uncovered. And don't look at it that the Finland authority cannot make Simon Ekpa one of their agents through this process.
So
and extract information from Nigeria.
So we have to be careful for national security.
They don't know what they are doing. That is why I said they don't know what they are doing. So you have started glorifying yourself by saying you have gotten victory when you don't know what will happen in the next 1 hour. You really don't take anything to indoctrinate somebody and bring him here and do all the activities. Today, people talk of Stella Dadavo and even name street for her to have achieved victory. What victory? For committing suicide? Did she know that Patrick Sawyer was coming, Professor Patrick Sawyer was coming to Nigeria? How did the information come in? How did the intelligence in the airport know? So why glorify Stella, who was called and she decided to commit suicide because she wanted to prove that she's a professional? But that is the kind of system we have here. Up to today, up to this moment, they did not know who pointed to Patrick Sawyer. How did Ebola did not come to Nigeria and hit us drastically? Who brought the information? How was Patrick Sawyer accustomed at the airport? How do the information fit in? And why was he single-handedly picked? Stella Dadavo was in Yaba when they called them to come and see and test what was happening. To verify the information gathered. Was the person compensated? Do they know the person up to today? But they celebrate. They stop Stella Dadavo. Go and kit up. Go and kit up before you meet this man. He said, "Are you a medical practitioner? Get out and let me go in." And she went in without kitting, and she died, and everybody starts celebrating Stella Dadavo. But the person who gave the information till the flight landed in Nigeria, the person who picked on Patrick Sawyer, the person who caged him into one place, the person who did all that till they call the disease control unit.
NCDC,
yes, to come in, led by Dr. Stella Dadavo. Nobody called the name up to today.
Which is wrong.
So, but they started celebrating somebody who was not a participant, who did not even do anything about it, who don't even know anything. whether he was carrying anything, whether Patrick Sawyer was carrying anything or not. Who cannot even identify Patrick Sawyer, who was sitting in her duty post in Yaba. So these are the things, and it's so pathetic that we get some things so wrong here, and we celebrate them.
All right. This is going to be my last question to you. Let's see. Do you think at a point Finland might decide if, for instance, he's found guilty and he's supposed to serve time, jail time? Will it be right for Finland to request that he serves jail time in Finland rather than in Nigeria?
Okay, let me tell you where the issue of jail time, I don't know. I don't want to go into judiciary issue. One, we have all had it here that IPONT said is not their member.
Does it change the complexion of the case?
Very well. IPONT has said it's not their member. So you can only charge him for impersonating IPONT. 2, being a member means that being non-member is that it's not the attitude of sit home. So somebody,
phenomenon in the southeast.
Yes, so somebody is doing the sit home, maybe just using his name. You understand me? So meaning that he cannot give any instruction to the
Eastern Security
Network.
Yeah.
3, he has no executive power or any power at all in IPONT to give any instruction. So on what privy are you going to charge him? And he can also deny that his name was just being used, since he's not an IPONT member.
But he has said it out there that he's seeking for the separation of Biafra from Nigeria.
You see, he's saying it out there. Did he say it in Finland?
Yes, he did.
Which press addressed that issue? Because I know the Finland authority, they will not allow any press to interview him, as far as he's under
custody.
Yes. So if anybody tell me that the Finland authority has allowed press briefing from Simon Ekpa, I will tell the person, please take your story back. Because the Finland authority that are trained will not, on something that has to do with diplomatic security, they will never allow any press interview. That such information will go to the public. You understand me? So all I know is that because they are trained on security and press and security, so they will not allow such interview. So anybody giving me that information, I will tell the person, please, was it after the arrest or before the arrest? And if he said after the arrest, I will say no. And that is why I said he's in their custody. Is there Nigerian security intelligence around that vicinity to nurture and to see what in details what the Finland security and him are doing? The answer is no.
All right, that's how much time is going to take us. We want to say big thank you to Ibrahim Abubakar, Global Television's security and political analyst, for doing a yeoman's job this morning, making the picture truly clear as regards the comments by the Defense Headquarters celebrating the final impending extradition of Simon Ekpa back to Nigeria. As he has said, it's not yet Uhuru for the Nigerian Defense Headquarters. So we'll be watching closely to see how this would pan out. Already, he has opened our eyes and mindset what we're likely to expect. I want to say thank you very much for enlightening us this morning as regards what we should be expecting as regards the state policing and also the likely extradition of Simon Ekpa back to Nigeria.
Thank you very much for taking me this morning.
All right, that's how we're going to call it a wrap on this discourse segment. We'll go for a quick break. When we return, we'll be hitting our button for the last talking point. Then we'll be calling it a wrap. Stay with us.
Time check. It's midday. Then it's Midday Discourse. Midday Discourse is a program that covers trending local and international news, current issues, and human-related topics. Join Samuel Odi weekdays 1 p.m. on Global Television. The discussion starts here.
Business Point on Global Television. The business world can be dynamic and unpredictable, with headwinds and volatility sometimes becoming an obstacle for players in the business and economy landscape. Watch Business Point on Global Television as Samuel Odi walks you through the twists, turns and curves in bands, stocks and crucial market indices from a global standpoint. Watch Business Point weekdays on Global Television at 11 a.m. West African time. Business Point. This is business.
All right, welcome back from break. It's still Global Morning. It's that time when we call it a wrap on today's edition. We want to say a big thank you to our guest, Ibrahim Abubakar, Global Television security and political analyst, for joining us and helping us look at issues concerning state police and also the issue of extradition of Simon Ekpa from Finland back to Nigeria. And the key words he said is not yet Uhuru, so the defense headquarters shouldn't start celebrating that they've caught him because there's still a lot of processes to go through, and reminding us that Ekpa has dual citizenship, so meaning he's also a Finnish citizen, and it means Finland will be in all the processes through whatever he will be going through right here in Nigeria. All right, and also for the state policing, he raised very important issues as regards the cost implications of state policing that's model to be, domesticated across the 36 states of the Federation. Meanwhile, the National Economic Council have given an ultimatum to 3 states, talking about Kebbi, Adamawa and the Federal Capital Territory, Kwara, also to, as a matter of urgency, state their stance as regards state policing, unless they would be bound by whatever decision the NEC decides at the end of the day. So those are some of the key issues that are making the rounds right here in Nigeria. My name is Anthony Momoli. On behalf of the entire team, I want to say thank you for joining us on today's edition. Good morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies to, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rate as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call the police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
We struggled as to strike.
The Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any